Hey everyone, my name is Cameron and I'm your curious occultist, and I'm here basically to help people discover their hidden power. So in today's video, what we're going to talk about is values and why having and adding value to your life is so important. So with that being said, let's get started. So basically, what are values? Values are basically things, characteristics, traits, examples, things in our life that we deem to be important. So what does that look like? And basically, here are some examples of some values. So like some of my values are authenticity, sincerity, humility, kindness, that sort of stuff. And what I do when I applied these values to my life is I started to use them as building blocks to kind of shape and change the world around me. So with that said, I'm going to kind of get into what having or not having values kind of looks like. So when I was younger, I basically struggled with trying to understand people, and I used to get so angry and frustrated and just really pissed off about why does this thing work the way it does? Why does this keep happening? Why me? What is the reason behind this? Why is life so unfair? And I kept on asking these hard questions, especially to my mom. And my mom at the time was like, I don't know how to answer you. This is some big life questions. So with myself, I kind of set on a mission for myself to basically be like, all right, let me make sense of these things. Let me try to understand things. Let me try to work things out in a way and make sense of all of this chaos that I don't seem to understand. So when I figured out what values were, and again, it's just kind of like, it seems really simple in context, but then when you're like, the light bulb turns on, you're like, oh, okay, that's what values are. That's why they're so important. I mean, values equals importance. So with that, I was like, okay, like now that I understand how values and having a value system works, I'm gonna, figure out which values apply to me. So I remember I would get situations with people where I could tell in particular where they were not being honest. So like I adopted honesty as a value because I was like, I am sick and tired of people being not honest. I'm sick and tired of people lying. I'm sick and tired of people being deceitful. So then I adopted and I brought in the value of honesty. And in order to keep that honesty in my life, I myself had to be honest. I had to be honest with myself. I had to be honest with other people. I had to be honest with the reality of the situation, even though I didn't like what it was. And I really kind of developed into self-reflection to maintain the values of honesty, and then which eventually led to another value of integrity. Now with integrity, that's about maintaining true to who you are and maintaining what your values are. So that's basically like sticking with the consistency of what your values are to maintain integrity. Integrity basically solidifies who you are as a person. So if you say you're going to be about it, then you be about it. If you say you're going to do it, then you're going to do it. And I did struggle with that one a lot of the time too, because especially like with values and trying to figure out what values were, a lot of the time I was like, okay, well, I like the idea of this and I like the sound of this and I like the way that this, looks or whatever, but then I fully didn't understand what the value was and what that necessarily entailed and what that necessarily meant. So then getting frustrated and learning from examples where I'm like, okay, well, I like this idea, but then now I need to figure out what it takes to maintain it. Again, helps you develop that value of integrity. And then also, which kind of leads into one of my other values, which is being authentic. And this value, again, was really hard for me because one thing I've learned is it takes a lot of confidence to be who you are and to be who you are regardless of what everybody says. And especially me being kind of like a goth kid, awkward artist, kind of, nerdy type, I didn't fit a lot of people's molds of who I should be and how I should be. So that caused me to, again, also go back to, like I was saying, in my childhood, where I was really frustrated and where I was really just angry and pissed off that I couldn't understand these certain things. So when I brought that back into a value system, again, using values as building blocks to shape and attract my life the way I want it to be, I used values in order to have a starting point and have a beginning of where to go and where to continue going from something. But I had to have something, a foundation, a grounding mechanism, a level in order for me to build the values and to build my, what I call my empire and all of that stuff off of. So a lot of the values that we adopt in life, again, are brought on from our experiences, but it doesn't necessarily have to be through experience that we get values. I mean, after a certain point, I just kind of started absorbing the whole world around me, learning from other people's mistakes, learning from other people's lessons, learning from anything that I could that life had to offer. And when I would observe and learn from that, I would then use that to build and develop myself a value system. Again, so I would see people who were not being authentic to themselves and doing a lot of that kind of projection of, this is what I want you to see of me and this is what I want you, how you view me as. And me having the gifts that I do, I was able to look into and look past that and be like, oh, right, but I see how authentically you are, and that's kind of shining through. So I really like that idea, and I like that value of authenticity, so I'm going to adopt that. And then another good example is like humility. So with humility, I was having experiences where I was, okay, well, I'm apologizing and I'm taking ownership and I'm owning my mistakes and owning what I did, but then I would see other people be like, yeah, you. Yeah, it's you. Yeah, you did that. You. Yeah, you. Oh, yeah, that's all you. And I would basically like, there's two of us in this argument. Takes two of us. When are you gonna apologize? When are you gonna apologize? Come on. So, like with humility, that was a lot of the like, okay, you got to be able to say you're sorry, and you got to be able to mean it when you say you're sorry, and you got to be able to, like, for me anyway, I guess it's like, if you're going to apologize, I want you to know why you're sorry and that you're actually reflecting on it, and that you reflecting on it makes actions and makes changes, not that you're just saying it because you like the idea of how it sounds. So again, when you're also like taking in values and adopting values into your system, also keep in mind that it also has to not just match with what your words are, but what your actions are as too. So really, my advice, I guess, is to just kind of look into what the word means, what the word's about, and really think about how that applies even into not just words, but into action. Because when we say it and then act it, it creates our whole world and our whole environment in such a way that we change everything around us. So with values, it's not just about, I like the idea of this, I like the sound of this. It's also about kind of doing your homework and also investigating what that entails, what that's about, what that is not as just a word, but as far as an action as well. So with that, especially when we start to act it and then be it and adopt it, despite, how we were before, and using that to kind of changing us into a new version of ourselves, we then start to see how having a value system and maintaining a value system starts to change and shape and build a whole new world around us. So, with that being said, in the last part of my videos, I like to talk about how especially values, apply to magic. So, when you're practicing magic and using magic and applying magic, it gives you, again, it's the same thing. Having and adopting a value system allows you to shape and form spells and thoughts and anything you want around your magic. You can create energy around it. You can create attraction to it, to be like, okay, because I value this, I want to use magic to attract what I'm looking for. So if I want somebody who's, let's say I want to attract somebody for a relationship. That's an example with magic. So I'm going to attract somebody who has the same value system as I do. So that looks like, okay, they gotta be able to be authentic, they gotta be able to be sincere, they gotta be able to have humility, they gotta be able to be honest, they gotta be able to, be a little bit humble. And then you use that magic to attract, not necessarily focusing on a specific person, but attracting these qualities of a person to you. And then that not even just even applies to relationships. It can also apply to your work. So let's say I want to get a new job, right? And this is something that's even brought up in the workplace, especially now, is workplace values. So workplace values might look like balance, equal share, communication. Let's see what else. Again, authenticity, sincerity, humility, people being able to apologize for their mistakes, learn from it and grow. Fairness in the sense that, listen, you put the best person for the right person in the right job and it all makes sense. And you can use that to attract what you're looking for and apply it to your magic. So that way you're like, okay, I'm sending out the energy of this value system to come back to me like this, so that way I get more of what I'm looking for. So I'm going to ask if this makes sense with you and you want to apply some values to your life, and I hope this helps. Please like, subscribe, share, and like I said, let me know how values in the comments work and change your life. Talk to you soon.